All right, we're gonna switch this out. All right. So we switch. Here, you take this for a second.
Gotcha.
Go over here and make sure y'all can see good. Wasn't using this camera at first. We had to switch whole laptops. All right, we back. So we switched over. Let me see if I can pull up. Yeah. We're just trying to make sure everything is good to go over here. Let's see. Give me what I need. I appreciate y'all's brilliance and patience. Because, you can't stop me. Can't stop me. Okay, there we go. I appreciate it. We got some already. Boom. All right. So I've got it loaded back up. It's loaded back up. If y'all want to go over to YouTube, don't know. So hit that. Let's make sure. Make sure we get in the goods because this is streaming. All right. You know what? This saying is going. Let's bring it back. I'll take it. You know what? This saying is going. Boom. Let's bring it back. We got everybody on mute here.
Go ahead and stop that.
All right. So thank y'all. All right. So we back. We back on YouTube, y'all. So if y'all want to come back to the YouTube channel, we got the live going now. One of them you might see two when you go over there, but just go to the YouTube channel, Honorable Black Man, and you'll find us. Peace. All right, come on back, fam. All right. All right, so like I was saying, I got my brother Boxy Hanif over here, Jones Urban Leader. We didn't introduce him. And I was talking about my man King Simon. They got shit even tell you what he does. Everybody show me that. I just want y'all to come and look him up for yourself. Go find him yourself. This is King Simon, my big brother, my mentor in a lot of things. My brother has opened up lots of doors and opportunities and made New York a place where I can thrive and grow. He's brought some of the most brilliant speakers, scholars,
it's not
that I've ever seen, as well as he's put me in to participate. So I've done some lectures with this brother, and it's been a great lesson for my life. So, he's brilliant. He's got some children. This brother, he's been married. This brother ain't. So we got perspectives. You know what I mean? We got perspectives.
I'll drink water to that.
Drink water. Toast to the Mother Earth. So check it out, man. Brothers, how y'all feeling?
Living, man.
Good.
Living it good.
Living my best life.
I'm glad you're in Florida out of the cold. That melanin gotta get activated.
We're trying to chill a little bit out here, but it's fine.
Yeah, but it's okay. We can live like this. Yeah, man. So check it, brothers. Anything that y'all want to tell the people before we get into this side of the conversation? Anything that y'all want to open up with? Something you want to tell about yourself? Something you want to shout out to brothers or black people? What you feeling like?
Hey, man, I just want to say shout out to this channel for doing this and taking the time to give men a chance to have certain discussions that we just seem to not have amongst ourselves and not try to put a forward motion into healing with, getting some of our own issues that we know as a black man we're all dealing with. So true. I'm just glad that that's happening right now. I'm glad to be part of that right now.
Real big.
Man, brother, I just say, first of all, love and honor to the ancestors. I say to all of your ancestors and all of our ancestors and all of us. First, I'd just like to say, man, it's good because I was just talking about this. A friend of mine, the good doctor that is here too. We were talking about that. And it's very important that this is a very important topic. And I have a certain perspective on, so I can't wait to delve in.
Okay.
And we're gonna have a good time. I'm here to glad to be a part of this.
Sweet. All right.
With all the brothers and sisters. All right.
Well, the question that we opening up with, first and foremost, how do you define a black man's love? Right? Is it make sure the babies are fed? Is it roses? Is it chocolate candies? How do you define a black man's love? Like, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Either for yourself, like, which has nothing to do with anybody else, or in terms of relationship, however you interpret that question. How do you define a black man's love?
It's a good question. And pondering, I think it's not even it's really how you qualify it, I guess. You know what I mean? Because like we were talking about this earlier, me and the brother, and it was like love and all in a lot of terms is so easily thrown out and used that it's really hard to establish a true definition with it. Things like opening the door for a woman is showing love, but now you can have levels of it being like, well, women want to be equal. You know what I mean? Opening the door might be make her feel like you're going against her equalness. Now you're trying to make her feel like she's less than by being, I mean, I've experienced that level, so I was just like, wow, I didn't realize that this was, a level of reality. So it's like, for me, it has to deal with action. It has to deal with about putting things above yourself as a man, because as a man, I feel like it is our responsibility. I feel like that is what we're here for, something greater than ourselves. So our love has to be more than us. It has to be. It has to be through actions that even expound on what we would do for ourselves. What a man would do for himself probably isn't much, honestly. But that showing that love, and that's not necessarily saying he doesn't love himself. It's just that for it to be defined and to be reciprocated and to be understood as love, you have to go outside of some of your own boundaries that you would have as a man. You're gonna have to go outside of what you think, because you're not dealing with a man when you're dealing with this. I mean, I'm coming from the heterosexual vibe, so it's like you're dealing with a woman and her idea of love, and that's that individual woman that you're dealing with, or women, however you're dealing with it. And then there's love for your people, and there's love. Love is all through the action. Love is all through doing something beyond yourself, and where you put your energy most to, what you focus, how you focus, all of that. So,
can you say one action that you feel like is like specific to how a black man loves? What's
specific
that a black man does for somebody that's like, yeah, that's that black man love. We think about grandma, grandma's cooking or something, the way grandma hug you or something. Those are specific things like, yeah, the way grandma's.
It's the way a black man talks. Like, if you're talking to a youth, you would, and you want him to feel where you're coming from. You're trying to, what's up, young blood? What's up, young? You talk to him, you give him a level where he's younger and you older, so the respect is there, but he also feels honor in his position. Like, the term down here was jit for kids for a long time. Now jit has turned into, as the youngsters told me, it's a term not of endearment. It's a diss for anybody. It became a negative word for them, that they reproduced it to become a new negative word. So, it's transferred in its meaning like that. And when we were saying jig, there was a level of, it's just a jig, but it was still, we felt like it was a level of love, but they didn't feel like it was a level of love. So then it got flipped like that.
Gotcha.
So, now you have to speak in levels now more mature. I'm not going to call you a jig. I know that there can be a taste of that, so I'm going to call you something that it's pretty much impossible for you about this being negative. You know what I'm saying? That you understand this is coming from a level of respect. So it's in the way we talk. It's just how it's in the subtleties. Black man love, I feel like it's subtleties, the little things.
I'm gonna come back to that because some people are gonna be like, you said action, but then you said talk. You said a black man's love is action, and then you said talking.
Well, you said for a specific way how to show it.
That's a fact.
Buying things, I feel like anything.
I'm gonna come back to it.
Let's get to it.
So I'm gonna see what this brother's saying. How do you define this?
Man, I have to go back into time because I feel that our purest love probably started with our mother. As black man love probably started with the breath we had to suck, the one we had to connect with first, and then recognizing the balance when the Father came into play. Then we started recognizing who we are as far as connection to Him. So that black man's love starts from that root. And once we learn what the root is all about, then we start developing self-love. And then self-love starts, especially if you have parents that's guiding you to understand self-love in order for us to be able to love other people. Being in this cycle for the last 52 years I always said to my ex-wives, I said it to my ex-wife, I said, my purest love, when I defined pure love, was probably in my teens, when I finally really was able to give and was willing to protect that person that the actions, like you said, but with the action comes conversation and all of that developing. But the purest love is probably when I was in my youngest time, when I didn't understand what it was, but you just had this feeling that came across. And that woman had that girl had that feeling that came across her.
Yeah.
Because now it was similar to what you see with your mother, or what you received. Because that same first love was willing to cook for me and all that, like my mother did for me. So the black man opening up to become a black man in love. The example was mom and dad. Mom and dad was the first example. Whether dad was there or not, they had to have some type of set example to become that black man showing love eventually to others. But it had to be developed. And some people don't. And some people, they lose it. They get adopted or they get thrown out of the house, whatever. But, from my perspective, because I did have a mother and father until it separated with my mother, father's balance, and then I recognized what it was and what I needed to do after years.
Now, I'm one of these brothers that, like, I knew my father, but my parents weren't together. So I had some interaction with my father. It was kind of like every other weekends, visits, holidays and things. And I spent a lot of time with my father's side of the family. So, I didn't feel distant from my father, but I also didn't have that example to talk about of how a mother and a father were together. How did you grow up with it, bro?
Well, I had a mother and a father growing up for most of my childhood, but my parents did split when I was a teenager, like early in my teens. And I stayed with my mom from there. And I had a relationship with my father more vocal, really. As I stayed with my mom, I didn't really hang around him as much. I knew he wouldn't approve of what I was trying to be in the world. You know what I mean? I knew I could. There was certain levels I was no way. You know what I'm saying? That I could even not even level the conversation. So it was just like and some of that is still today.
So how do y'all feel if a black man, a young black boy, is growing up and he's not seeing a black man around, see how a black man loves? Where do you think he picks it up from? Where does he get his ideas of love from?
There's only one place to get it. You know what I mean? That's the world. And the world, from the everyday, as for me, okay, I can go to high school. I can, think of levels of comparing stories about how you talk to a girl, or having that type of thing. Having the first crush, and that trying to move on that and build like that. Then you have what the music kind of promotes, and a lot of us, because there was levels of that dysfunction of a mother and father not there, a lot of us had to learn certain levels, and then a lot of people brought that in, and then brought in the dysfunction, and certain levels of dysfunction became normal, and it became, and it wasn't until I got older and had to grow out of self-programmed dysfunctions that, I can't even blame my parents for bringing it to me, that the world showed me and experience to a certain extent showed me that, okay, well, this is my option. This is what I need to do next. And it was really just the stepping stones of growth to truly understand how to love and where my love, all of that. You know what I mean? You take that. Myself as a man.
My perspective, because there was more men on my father's side than my mother's side, I went towards my father's side more. So as a young child, coming from the Caribbean, Uncle had Playboy magazines. We had, let's be real, this is what we had. And the year I was born is the year my father opened up a nightclub. So the nightclub scene, I was brought down there even from a young age, socializing and all that stuff. So I've seen all of the dynamics of entertainment and parties when I was a child. And then when my father left because of his womanizing ways, and my mother throwing him out of his own mother's house, and she sided with my mother because she had us. And he even said that she was looking out. My mother was looking. My mother, myself as a child, and my sister was looking out the window as he was leaving, and he kept on wanting to come back. And my mother kept on saying no. So, and at 14, I got knowledge of self. So going towards the 5%, that's when I started seeking the men energy. The 5%, then I went to the Ansars, and I went to the Nation of Islam to seek men. And when I did finally talk to my father and actually wrote him a letter, I wrote a letter in red ink. And if people know ancient history, when you write in red ink, you're talking about you represent blood. It needs blood stamp on. And he's a former Marine. He understood that. And I said, it was these people, the Elijah Muhammad, the Malcolm X, the Imam Isa, who y'all call Dr. York today, who saved my life. Because I ran away from home at 16 to Jamaica, became Muslim. But those are the men, because I could have went into the gangs. But the gang, I was so afraid of my parents when I was young, when the young skulls came to me in Brooklyn back in the day, because they had the baby skull, it was baby skull that came to me. It came to me and my friend, and they said, y'all need to join our gang. We said, nah, you don't know our parents. So both of us were Caribbean boys. And I said, you don't know, my mother would kill me to join her. I can't run out of her house and come fight for no gang in Brooklyn because of y'all. Then I left and went to the 5% knowledge got me when I was young. And then that's where I just kept my journey. So that's
in those spaces, did they talk about specifically how a black man loves? Is that that's a real conversation?
That was especially under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah. I can never disrespect his teaching because that was one of the things he said that we weren't taught. We weren't taught love, wasn't taught finance and economics, and we didn't teach, wasn't taught warfare. That's why he had the FOMGT, which is the FI Fruit of Islam, and the MGT which was the Muslim girl trained at GCC. Those classes were separate. No men supposed to go into those classes with the women, and no women are supposed to come in that class. You had any problems with situations, female captain would meet with the male captain, and then we would resolve that situation in the nation. And I was under Dr. Khalid and Farrakhan and the rest of them, especially in the nation. But the 5%, it was kind of a little lax days because I think they lost positioning because of Clarence 13X or the father being shot and killed, and everybody's just all over the place. But in his lessons, he told us to go back to the temple. But yes, in the nation, they definitely discussed that. And even in the Ansar community under Dr. York, he kept us separate. But we definitely had the manhood training classes in both those situations when I was in those programs. But it had to save me. I would have been in the gangs if I didn't.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna know because I almost have a complete opposite. Like I'm not listening to this story. This is like, man, this is deep. But my father was in the nation. You know what I'm saying? And he started us out into the nation. We started out. We were raised Muslim, you know what I mean? When I was saying I was escaping, that's what I was escaping. You know what I'm saying? Islam, and not Nation of Islam, because we went from Nation of Islam, we did what Malcolm did. When Malcolm pretty much became Sunni Muslim. He pretty much, and what Warren Muhammad did. That's our father transitioned with that too. He was an FOI, he transitioned with that. My mom, we all transitioned with that. And so then it came to making salat 5 times a day at the house. It came to fasting Ramadan since like elementary school, like all that. Then it came to that. It became dealing with these same Arabs who were at the corner store, who I didn't realize was Muslim. We became seeing them, and now they recognize me at a different level. It became me learning Arabic, you know what I mean? But the problem was, I'm raised out here in South Florida. Nobody's like that. You know what I mean? Nobody's like that. When we went down to Miami, there were other brothers who had children. They were trying to instill that to their children. And because of the level of community that was there, and this was a former Sister Claire Muhammad school that had done the same thing. So it was the same type of thing. I love what they had. And I feel like had something like that been up here, I probably would. I might not have been able to just leave it alone like I felt like I was able to do. And I got to the point where I felt like Islam had already shown me that, and it made me feel like, as this is a level of manhood. And if you were talking about the love thing, that's one thing my father never showed me. And that's one thing, I can honestly look back, and I love my father. He didn't know how to show. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he couldn't have learned that from that. You know what I'm saying? For me, like, what he did learn how to do was when we talk about how a man shows love, his was in direct action. That's all bills, you know what I'm saying? This is that level. This is that level, handling that stuff. My mom did not have to work. You know what I'm saying? From the time I was born, she worked for herself. And after the divorce, she kept that, kept that thing going. So, and she stayed with the art and all that, So like, but, so seeing that, what I mean, I don't feel like I really understood what it meant for a man to show love. Like, it was just levels of responsibility that a man was supposed to have. I didn't even recognize it as love. So, these actions, not like, that's what I'm saying, that it was really random dudes who were also misogynistic in their mindset and didn't recognize it, were trying to tell us how to holler at girls, how to take advantage of women, you know what I'm saying? Right. Older women trying to give me things, trying to tell me how to deal with them too, all that type of stuff, So it's like, it was in this exploring level of and I had to leave Islam, but I really a lot. And I really had to, I wasn't trying to disappoint. You know what I mean? And I fasted, I made my salats and all that. And in the end, I felt like this is not doing anything different than what Jesus is doing for my friends. You know what I'm saying? This is only giving me a false feeling of that I'm better. They feel like they're better, I feel like I'm better, but we basically need the same thing. And I'm not growing and they're not growing, So I started going to new paths with it, you know what I mean? And that's when, things like African spirituality, learning about Kemet, learning about the Dogon and that type of stuff. That's when it started getting me. And then, then there was the whole Black woman is God phase that, was a cool phase to rebalance it. But I balance it now in my mind that, it's not about the Black woman being God over the Black man being God, or the Black man being God over the Black woman being God. I mean, we're guys in our own individual representation of a consciousness on earth in a body that controls our existence while we're here. So in that essence, we all God. But the Black man, the Black woman, yeah, okay, they all races, we can say, come from that. That's cool. All of that is good. But these are all just, cries for the ego to make us feel good about ourselves so that we can love ourselves more, so we can figure out how to love each other more. And like, I feel like we stuck on a self-love ego that hasn't really learned how to truly, it's not even a self-love ego, it's just an ego pride, you know what I mean? And it's not really establishing what it is. Like, we got to redefine manhood. Our manhood now has been defined by European standards. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. That's where it comes from.
Do y'all have any examples? Like, if you could say one Black man that gives a great example of what Black love looks like. Like, for me, I might throw Khalid Muhammad.
Yeah,
that brother looks like Black love. But,
Black love. But I was with Khalid, and he went through many wives. And you see he loves his son. His son was there. It's just that there's, like anybody else, I tell people don't praise human beings because they have their flaws. If you found out all of their flaws, you're going to find. You'd rather be disappointed with Khalid, Farrakhan, who was it? Yeah. Disappointed with Elijah, just like they keep
if you're trying to
Elijah.
You gotta be Jesus perfect.
Right. Now, I can say a good example of somebody who's kept one wife. Sarnetta kept his wife for 30 years.
Boom. Okay.
So I've been with 3 wives or 2 wives for 20, going on 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the Phil Valentine. I've seen Dr. Africa going through their ups and downs. Yeah. So I've been through those elders and heard the stories, because I've sat with those brothers and young brothers like Nola for intimate settings. Yeah. So the best example I would say is I would even say from a young perspective right now that I see is from the Islamic perspective, Nur Imam. From the Kemetic perspective, I would say Ashraf Quasi, his wife. And then I would go with either Baba James Small and his wife for 45 years, or Baba Jeffries and his wife for 53 years. Yeah. I would, for those people that I can console, because I don't have a bunch of single friends to console when it comes to relationships no more. I used to have that in the club. I used to have, but I was a club man. Right. So I used to have those single. So those are my examples. Gotcha. And even the young ones, even when I considered polygamy, I would talk to a from or Dr. York or Obama, which was Dr. York's brother, or Dr. Sadie. But Sadie went to 3 wives, and every one of the elders always end up with one wife after all of that 3, 4 wives. They always go back to
I'll
the
come back to
one.
one.
So
That's interesting.
So there's multitudes of examples I can
Absolutely.
see from multitude levels that's in our culture.
Thank you.
Polygamy to monogamy to I see it all.
Y'all rewind that back later and get those names. Look up those people. So, you need these examples. You got one, bro? Anybody that you can think of? Shining example of black love.
Shining example of black love.
Black man love.
Man, you know what?
The answer is no. That's
No. It's not a real person though.
And then it's being a real person.
Who that is?
It's a character from a TV show.
Okay.
And it's not who people probably think I'm gonna say.
I ain't gonna say that.
But the person who I feel like, even though, and there was levels of his love that I feel like, was, for the sake of the show was comedy and he, extra about certain shit, but beyond all of it, he really loved this woman over everything. Martin.
Actually picked that out.
Martin is a shining example of black man love.
None of us expected that except King.
Yeah, that's because
No, I can tell you where I'm going to.
I know where you're going, man. People's always gonna go to
Set up. Yeah.
But nah,
That's what I mean.
Nah.
But you stayed in the comedy drama.
Yeah.
And Red Fox came to somebody in the metaphysical world and said Martin is a god because he's the one that showed relationships.
Mm-hmm. He did a great job.
Red Fox.
I believe that.
Yeah, that's it.
I believe that.
I got to say that was a good one. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, but I look at also David Wayne. Because he did well with the same one who Martin was with.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the team Arnold.
She's the good one.
You definitely are. We're doing a black woman.
Yeah, she's the one that kept the good one.
Hold this down. Give us a reflection.
Yeah.
I was actually, when you first asked the question, though, the first person I thought of was Malcolm X, though. That's the first person I thought of.
Yeah, he died on his post.
He died on his post. You know what I mean? He was a level of loyalty and love that I think is unmatched in a lot of levels of black men. Like for self, family, and people, he radiates that. You know what I mean? He died on that. You know what I'm saying? I would like to believe that. And this might seem weird, but to a level, he might have known he was going to pass that day, knowing something was going down that day. But his family was still there, which I find like in my mind, I found that was like, wow, if you actually thought that, why would you still let it? But I think he was such a level of revolutionary, and he knew the trauma that he came from. I mean, this might not even been a conscious thought of his, but I feel like he knew this would affect, and hopefully in a good revolutionary way of his own family, by even seeing this, seeing him stand and have to go through all this. Yeah, I did that.
Let me just clarify something.
Jump in.
For the people that I want to make sure that y'all not thinking that I'm a supporter as far as what people have defined Dr. York today.
Yeah.
Back in my past, we was under the Ansarullah community, so I seen different from an Islamic perspective. What has happened now, I don't know, so I want to make sure there's a disclaimer. Because I know there's a lot of sensitive people out there, and because I'm an elder that's been through these communities, I've seen different things, and I just respect what I learned from him at one point. I don't know what happened after I left the community.
You did a lot of great things.
I don't know what happened after that. So that disclaimer's out.
All right, I appreciate it. We got another question. I'm gonna get these other brothers in here. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna when we done with these next questions, y'all can jump back in because we got some questions from the audience.
Good.
Is that questions? Which I got down here.
We had questions.
Okay. Oh, which I sit down for a second. I ain't what's the question?
I got here with a double entendre.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna pick one. What does the word vulnerability? Why does the word vulnerability feel so uncomfortable? And is vulnerability a woman thing?
Woman thing.
Because we was talking about vulnerability. That's what we.
And this one said, "Oh, see, I'm saving these for the next brother."
So okay.
Let me see. Let me see if any of these refer to what y'all was talking about. Let me see.
Yeah.
What's that?
See about that one.
That's
Okay.
a book.
And see about that one.
Okay, hold up. Oh, all right. How do you know you're in love?
Why they looking that up, yo?
How you?
Yes.
Vulnerable black man.
But they answered the question. people answering it. And it's all this.
I see it.
Panic.
You know,
I don't have to answer
the
it.
question.
Whoa,
That's what I put the book on.
I thought mine
So,
was one. It's not.
Oh, you wrote the
Oh.
chapter?
That's my baby.
Oh, you wrote, oh, I thought you wrote the chapter.
Yeah, we on the Vulnerable Black Man
Okay.
channel. This is YouTube. But if you want to like send topics, if
Share
you want to
this.
ask questions later, vulnerableblackman@gmail. If you want to, get on the show, even if you know somebody we should be talking to or listening to, shoot us some information at vulnerableblackman@gmail. You can find me personally at Ethiopian on these things. Brother, what's your Instagrams and Facebooks? Where can they find you?
Oh man, Instagram, living the rhythm, just like the T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? LIVIN. It's a dirty shirt. THERHYTHM. Living the rhythm on Facebook, on Instagram, on Gmail, on Zoom.com. You feel what I'm saying? All right. So,
King Simon Presents on YouTube, King Simon Productions on Instagram, King Simon Productions on Facebook, King Simon Prod at Twitter, and KingSimonProductions.wordpress.com. I am a numerologist or numerovator, so I do consult people with their numbers and show them how to use their numbers connected to their name and their birthday. So I'm a numerologist also, so I break down the numbers and how it can work for you and how to activate the numbers or the frequency of the numbers.
I just want to make sure I shout out to Meta Blackness, metablackness.com. You feel me? That's the conscious hip hop man group, all man group we representing, and we try to take man issues into the hip hop realm and elevate it because we understand what music is. Fela said it's a weapon, so we need to use it too.
Don't forget my books.
Yeah, brother's got some dope books.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Men of Blackness is one of our featured groups one time on this channel, so y'all definitely hear more from them. I'm gonna come up there and sit down with you and some other brothers
Yes,
up there,
yes.
especially if you get some of the elders.
Say
Book
it.
title.
Title?
Book
Oh,
title.
title. Okay, yeah. Because I always promote this man's book.
That's right. It's time to get you
I got
on.
three, and he edited two of them for me. So my brother here, he was the editor for two of them. The first book is No Promotion is Bad Promotion, and All Publicity is Good Publicity. Just spell my name right. That's a revised version of my
Spell my
promotion
name
book.
right.
So I've worked in SOBs in New York. I've worked at Urban Plaza, Madison Square Garden, Radio City Hall. I've worked at different places. And my other book is Numbers Are Simple, People Are Complicated. Numbers are simple, people are complicated. And the last but not least, 'cause I got 7 more to write, is numbers are simple, our children's health is important. Numbers are simple, our children's health is important. Using the numbers on how to help guide and give guidance to you, because numbers don't lie, people lie to themselves.
Hey,
Simple.
Heard something like that.
So read these questions. Y'all take like 60 seconds, answer whatever question there is.
All right. How do you know you're in love?
How do you know?
Mm.
How you know?
You just know.
Gotta adjust your pants.
You know what I mean? Look, man. To me, love is a conscious decision in the essence. Like you choose it and you choose to grow it and it grows if you can choose to grow with it. I believe, some of the most long-lasting relationships of the past were people who were in arranged marriages, and that means they had to learn to love.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They tried to do that way back in the day. All right, they got me 2 questions. Hold up. Do you believe love can exist amongst multiple partners, or is it best existing amongst 2?
That's a whole other show. That's another show. We don't talk. That discussion is a really long conversation.
Man, I can't answer that in 60 seconds.
Not a 60 seconds. Thank y'all for that question. We're gonna come back down. There's literally, I'm already talking about that. We got a whole polygamy, monogamy show coming up. So wait for that. Wait for that.
Hold on.
Polyandry, all of that.
The question on this now is, they answered it for themselves in their own way, but it says, can a black man show his feelings and cry? Oh yes, we can.
We can do it.
We can do it. And remember,
I said we can't do that.
Michael Basin wrote a book that black men cry in the dark. Black men cry, and sometimes because of this machoism and this macho way that we've been taught and groomed over the years, some of us cry in the shower, cry in the bathroom, cry in the toilet, cry when we're not around, cry in the park, cry at the dojo, whatever we're crying at, in the boxing ring, whatever we're crying sometimes to release certain things in the locker rooms of these places, not in front of them, but I'm just saying, yes, black men can be vulnerable and cry. Sometimes we don't show it. And in the metaphysics world,
Right there, he just said it.
in the metaphysics world, they say if you catch the tears of a black man in a vial, you can actually use and do rituals with that, because sometimes it's so hard to show their feelings. In the metaphysical, if I'm teaching y'all, I'm showing y'all something, but I don't want y'all to use it against them.
Don't be stealing
No,
because
see what he said? See, we cry in the shower because we are not going to be that vulnerable in front of you.
you have to go collect our bathwater.
Some people use our
And let's do love. We can't be that way with you. Let's be in love and we know it.
Exactly. So,
My brothers, I appreciate y'all, man.
Yes, sir. Good thing, my
Yo,
dude.
blessing.
my
Yes,
brother. Yes, sir. My
Yeah.
brother. My brother. Thank you.
I appreciate
Brother,
y'all.
Pleasure, man.
My brother. Yes.
Yes, man. Respect.
That's black love.
Yeah, man.
It's black man love. They just met each other today. Everybody can't love each other like that. So I'm about to bring up two other brothers because we got this other question you can jump on real quick. If you're watching right now, share with a friend. Tell them to tune in because you know they need to be hearing these conversations. I had a link in my Instagram joint, and then I went to do that, but then the original link that we had, it literally shut down when I was welcoming King Simon to talk about what he does. All of a sudden, my entire laptop shut down. I mean, it was plugged up and everything. It wasn't like the battery died, the Wi-Fi was strong. I'm just telling you, when I went to bring this powerful black man up, it was like, so we had to reset the whole thing. I had to start it all over again. So, some people was looking for it. They was like in the chat room, and I don't know. Then we lost everything. So, we'll post this later. But if you're watching right now, your nephew should be watching this. Shoot him a little text real quick. Shoot him a link. Next, I'm going to bring up two brothers to have a conversation about the whole idea of vulnerability. And it was starting to get touched on right at the end there. It was like, is it okay for a black man to cry? Is it okay for a man to cry? Sort of thing. So welcome to the 5 Word People Chat. My two brothers, I ain't going to even tell y'all what they do because I don't want the thing to shut down. I bring powerful people around and talk about the powerful people that's going to shut it down. You just going to have to lift my people up. I'm going to bring up my man, Daniel Fortune, my man, Erwin Sidious. They coming up. Give them some snaps from where y'all at. What's good? Welcome to the 5. Come rock with me. My peoples, man. These are both some brilliant brothers, man. They put in good work for our communities, for our families, for themselves. They produce things. They both artistic, creative beings. So we're going to get some ideas and concepts and answers out of these brothers, man. Anything y'all want to say? Y'all have heard some conversation? Anything y'all want to say to introduce yourselves? Anything just before we get into the question side?
Man, first, I love the space, man. With that conversation, I was finding myself over there, just like really, really relating to some stuff. So, so it was really dope. That's pretty much it. As far as like Instagram, things like that, I go by my government, and I'm not really on there like that, so not no point sharing it with y'all. But shout out to Men of Blackness. Go to menofblackness.com. Go to Men of Blackness on Facebook, stuff like that. We're really trying to represent the masculine side of things, perspective. So
yeah, and that's Men of Blackness.
Men of Blackness.
Men of Blackness. Mob.
Yeah. So first and foremost, thank you for having me on this podcast. I love what you're doing. As far as Instagram and social media, you can find me at Danny Fortune, DANIFORTUNE. Just consider myself a creative, so stuff like this, I love.
He is that. Yes. All right, sweet. Let me ask y'all ever been in love? Black men, y'all ever been in love?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Do you make a distinction between I love somebody and I'm in love with somebody? Is that a difference?
I think so, most definitely.
Yes, I believe so.
My man said, I think so. Most definitely. I love how we talk. I just do. I think so, most definitely. Absolutely. Probably.
There's definitely a difference between love and being in love.
Word.
But you can love a lot of people.
True.
Yeah.
I love a lot of people. So what does it mean to be in love? This is like a little intermission question. What does it mean to be in love? Versus, I love my mama and my daddy. Am I in love with them? That's probably the distinction we talk about, right?
Yeah.
So what does in love mean? It's an intermission question.
That's a good question.
Clear your palate, like smelling some coffee beans.
I think when you're in it, you're not really thinking about you're in it. Like when you're in love, you're like you always talking about action and things like that. Then when you're in love, you're not really dissecting it. You're in it. You're sucked in. You're like whatever that energy is, you're in there. So I don't really think there's any how would I say, like real thought or anything like that. You're just moving in it. So I think like you can love somebody, but that's like you can have thoughts and strategies and kind of project that. But when you're in it, it's gonna take you. I don't think there's really no thinking. There's no strategy. There's no limits. There's no none of that. I mean, so that's what I think the difference is.
In a metaphoric sense, are you saying like the difference between like sitting on the beach versus being in the water?
100%. That's what I think.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
like that. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
What you saying?
In love, I feel like it's more proactive than just being in love. It's more action. You're doing things that you probably wouldn't do passively. While if you're just loving someone, in love is going the extra mile,
Extra mile. That's interesting.
listening.
Hey, that's man funny. My man said, if I'm in love with you, I'll listen.
Otherwise.
Be quiet, mama. That's mad funny. And you know, off of both of what y'all saying, I think it's interesting that we have that distinction of in love versus love. And the in love, for me, is how I really define what love should be like. Like if you love your mama, you should be listening. If you love your children, you should be listening. You know what I mean? You should be doing the extra mile for your children and your auntie and your grandma. We should.
Yeah.
But I understand, that's why I said, like, is there a difference in how would you define it? Because I think it is something we should talk about, look at, be a little clear on. Even in terms of like falling in love, language like falling in love. Like that sounds hurtful. It sounds like it hurts if you fall into it. I like the idea of growing into it, of walking into it, of growing in it, even rising up in it. But falling just sounds painful.
So cool.
Sounds like you're gonna hit the ground at some point and you're not gonna like it. Get there.
Sometimes you do.
You do. All right. So the question I actually got for y'all, the question of the moment, which a lot of these index questions are, we're gonna put up some of these is vulnerability a strength or a weakness? And to give it context, you know, I grew up thinking the word vulnerable means you were, you know, about to get something done to you. Like you were in a position where something could get done to you easily. I'm vulnerable right now, so anybody walk by can take advantage, not even take advantage, can abuse my vulnerability and hurt me. But lately I've heard women like, you know, they want men that are more vulnerable. They want to see the men's vulnerability. And not even just women even, you know, like men trying to find space where they can let off their guards for a minute. Because if you got to live in your armor your entire life, you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to be healthy for you. If you got to sleep in it, shower in it, you know what I mean? Go to the bathroom in it. You got to be able to take your armor off. And that's what I think we're calling vulnerability. Because I remember having sisters kind of complaining to me because, you know, I host, right? I host events and things. And there's a certain energy you got to have to engage a large group of people. Some you know and some you don't know. You know, you become the host. You engage in it. Boom. It's kind of like it's in the moment. It's not necessarily my deepest core self where I'm exposing my deepest feelings. I'm trying to find something where we all can connect, the common space, right? And that common space is usually not my deepest space. So then I've had women who, you know, when we're in a relationship, they're like feeling like, yo, I feel like I'm getting your host. I want that deeper level. I want to know you. And I'm like, well, that is me too. That's levels of me, but I understand what they're saying. It took me a while to think about what they're saying. You know, so is vulnerability, in your opinion, a strength or a weakness?
I think in its definition, it's a weakness, but I also believe that if you know what your vulnerabilities are, that's a strength. Because you can work on it, you can improve it. Like the metaphor you use with the wall or going to war, you know, if you know your weakest points, then people can't really use that against you so much. So I think that's a strength.
Dig that. How would you define vulnerability? Because you said based on its definition.
Vulnerability to me might be things you're trying to figure out about yourself or things that you're uncomfortable about yourself, things that may be too sensitive for you. Things you're still probably dealing with as an adult.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, so for me, so I actually think vulnerability is a superpower.
Hey.
I do think it's a superpower. But I'm gonna tell y'all why. So I think because we're not how this world has naturally like conditioned us on vulnerability, it can come off as a weakness. So I'll be specific. Like so you're in a room with other men, for example, especially if you're not securing yourself. You're in a room with other men, so you're gonna have your quote unquote alpha males, your beta males, suckers, punks, whoever's in the room, right? You're gonna have this inflated. You're gonna have a bunch of people who are inflating their masculinity, right? So in that time, that vulnerability, that lack of vulnerability is a weakness because now there can't be true connection because we're all this inflated version of ourselves, trying to watch out for the wolves, the lions, whatever. going on around us and trying to puff up, right? So so in that way, it's a weakness, and also because I think we haven't been conditioned right on vulnerability, which like I said, I think is a superpower. We don't know how to engage in it the right way. So vulnerability doesn't mean you put all your guards down and now you playing the sucker or for everybody. Like, because you don't know how to properly use it, now you're gonna become a sucker because your levels are too low, right? You don't know how to properly use it. I think it's like any superpower. You don't know how to use it, you get abused by it, right? So I think that's where the weakness comes in on it. Why I think it's a superpower is because I think, so if my definition of vulnerability, I really think fear is a natural thing. In any room, and anything you step into, there's gonna be levels of fear. And I think vulnerability is that tool that allows you to translate that fear, like make sense of it, right? Right. If my back is against the wall and it's a situation, I have to be vulnerable to accept that I'm scared of shit right now. I don't know, but that could bring the beast at me. Sure. Like, yo, you're not gonna take me out today, or I'm not gonna fail right now, right? So that being able to translate and make sense of that fear, I think that's what vulnerability does, right? And then the other side of it is sometimes when you are able to deflate and let that shit down a little bit and really translate and understand what's going on, it allows for true connection. Now we can have a real conversation. I can have the real you and not the host, like you were saying. Like I can talk to the real you and not the host, or you can talk to the real me without this inflated, tough guy, whatever folks got going on in their head. So I think vulnerability is that superpower that allows you to translate fear. That's what I think that is.
All right, that's dope. I like both where y'all taking this, man. Let's dig into this. Now, a lot of these joints right here, right? A lot of questions. People got questions about this concept of vulnerability. This one says, why does the word vulnerability feel so uncomfortable? So, for example, and I get this, like I've been around the sun a couple decades. I came up at a time where, you're supposed to be macho and boys are supposed to be boys and girls are girls, right? We used to call each other gay just if you didn't do the right thing. If you ate your cereal with your game, we might call you gay. Just if you ran too slow, we might call you gay. Like, gay didn't actually mean gay when I was growing up. It just mean like, you're not, right? It kind of gets off like anything anti or punk, which I didn't know until I left Ohio was a reference towards homosexuality as well. Like, we used to, oh man, you a punk. Well, we didn't mean it like, you gay. I mean, that's not what we meant. So, I grew up in a time where language is just like, it was kind of beat up. You got questions over there? All right, we'll get to those in a second. Hold on, thank you. So I know coming from that, men grown up in that, they've never done any emotional work. They don't have no emotional maturity. They just got stumped right there. They watched G.I. Joe and He-Man, and that's that. You know what I mean? They went out in the yard and they got beat up, and that's how we showed love to each other. Put you in a headlock with a noogie, and that's how you know I really love you. You know what I mean? I don't just noogie anybody. You know where your nasty head been. That's a show of love from where I'm from. You understand? So when we then start talking about vulnerability, which, when I was young, my father used to grab my leg right there. That little leg squeeze that's mad uncomfortable. That's a vulnerable spot. And he used to take advantage of that to freak me out. Or somebody walk by and tickle the bottom of my feet. That's a vulnerable spot. So now I'm trying to get away from the tickle. You know what I mean? People used to abuse our vulnerability to the point where now it's like vulnerability is uncomfortable. Do y'all, when y'all hear that word, does it like strike y'all with an energy that's like, don't say that, don't call me vulnerable. I'm strong.
I think in society, we have a lot of pressure to be strong and men.
Men.
So to be vulnerable kind of negates all of that. So I think that's why guys kind of shy away from that or taking on that trait.
It's definitely uncomfortable because it's religious. Like I was saying before, it's vulnerability exposes you. Like, like some people, you're exposed like for who you are. And if you're not comfortable with that and you haven't really sat with yourself and really, secure who you are and stuff like that, people can see all that weakness, all that, those little things about you. You feel like everyone can see it. When you're being vulnerable, it feels like it's on spotlight.
That part.
So it is uncomfortable. That part. It feels uncomfortable.
Now, see, that's a good point. To say that you feel exposed, you feel like everybody can see you. Because I know historically black men come from a place of doing their best not to be seen in truth. Because we come from a situation where our manhood has been systematically destroyed in front of everybody. That if you've heard of the Willie Lynch concept, whether that's real or not historically, we can see the effects, right? They did definitely do a thing called buck breaking, right? I don't really even have to talk about what that is, but you know, that's essentially where they would take the strongest black man that they had put on a plantation and rape him, you know, in front of people to take away his concept of people looking at him as that's the strong one. Like, we can maybe talk to him. We're going to listen to him and figure out how to get out of this. If we can break him in front of everybody, then everybody else is like, man, I guess we should give it up, right? So, I mean, that's the most extreme. But, you know, they tortured the hell out of black men in front of people. If you read the Black Jacobins, it talks about Haiti's history. Read chapter 2
that right now.
called Property.
Yeah.
And they talk about how they used to, you've got to train people in order to take the chains off so they don't fight or run away. You're not a slave just because you got the chains off. You're a slave when they take the chains off and you don't do nothing. So they had to make you a slave before they could take the chains off. And like, they used to do things like take a brother, the strongest guy, the one who was the rebellious one, and literally hack him up with a machete. Hack him to death with a machete in front of every other enslaved prisoner of war you got there. And then when you're done hacking him up, make everybody eat a piece of it. And say, if you don't eat a piece, we're hacking you up next, and go make everybody eat a piece of you too. So you may as well just eat this piece and get it over.
And you saying that just really opened something else in my mind about like vulnerability being like, because of what our ancestors went through, is that feeling of letting go traumatic? Because letting go could either have something going in your booty hole or end up having you in a situation you want to be in. So could it be, you know, those feelings from our ancestors? So it's like, yo, letting go ain't something that's ever benefited us.
It's not safe.
It never benefited us. So that's interesting.
Which is why we need the safe space to do it. You know, I mean, so on the other side of that, you know, to be in terms of like, if the idea of a man is a protector, a provider, and whatnot, and then we're in a situation for generations, hundreds of years, where we are literally unable to protect them, right? And it's known to the point where they say black women now have to protect themselves. They got to be their own man. They can be single. They don't need a man. They're going to raise their daughters to be strong and independent. They're going to raise their boys to be kind of quiet and don't buck at the system because I don't want you to get shot type thing, right? If you've got generations and generations of that, then getting to a man, generations deep into that, hundreds of years into that, to get him to even consider being vulnerable, I think, I'm going back to this, it's a superpower. Like I was sitting with my cousin out at the water the other day trying to talk about this idea of vulnerable. And it's like, how do you be open knowing there's so much animosity around you? There's, at any given moment, something could attack you, right? And out of nowhere, for any good reason, any no good reason. And I was like, man, the real power is to be able to be like a river, for example. A river is open and it's flowing and it's free. And it doesn't matter how many times you go punch a river. How many times you need to punch a river to hurt a river? How hard do you have to punch a river to make it like, you got me? So if you can be vulnerable on that level of a river, which is always open, always gonna do what it do, no matter who jumps in it, no matter who jumps out of it, no matter who comes at it to throw something in it, it's still gonna do what it's gotta do, regardless. It don't change, it's nothing for nobody. If we can get to that level of vulnerability, like I'm gonna be open and free and be me no matter, I'm not gonna put the mask on, I'm not gonna yes above, I'm not gonna cut my hair or comb my hair, I'm not gonna squeeze my toes, I'm not gonna change my tone of voice, I'm not gonna change my posture, I'm not gonna change the level of where my pants feel most comfortable. I'm gonna be me and be open to whatever that brings. Like, I don't care if I don't get the job, because I still have to be me. I still gotta be this river.
Yes.
That's a level of superpower.
I like that.
I like that
analogy, and I think with any kind of superpower, there has to be a level of like accepting that I have this superpower and being able to. You have to accept it to use it. So, for example, with vulnerability, you got to be able to accept what's going to come with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, knowing that whatever's going to come with this, I'm cool with that, because I've done enough work on myself to know that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with what happens, or whatever get exposed, or whatever. I'm not going to die. It's going to be all right. So I think you got to have a level of acceptance of who you are. You know what I'm saying? Acceptance of that fear. Like go back to fear. It starts with fear. Yeah, it starts with that fear. Once you accept that fear, now you can make sense of it and see where you want to go with it. So you're gonna have to.
But it's still vulnerable if you accept it. That is still vulnerability. I feel like that's more so being brave. I still kind of see vulnerability as. No, I still see it as a weakness. I still see it as.
You sticking with it, folks.
Yeah.
Like, that's you right there. You getting hemmed up.
I mean, it's a weakness, but if you accept it, it's like you can deal with it. You can move forward.
Yeah, I understand.
I feel like if you try to power through it and be brave, you're kind of ignoring the vulnerable
I see.
parts of it.
So I mean, definition of vulnerability does have to do with your weak points. Absolutely. So on the is it a weakness? The definition is like vulnerable to attack. Basically, you are in a position where it's easy to attack. That's what the weakness vulnerable definition. And the strength is knowing that that's the case and still being open.
Yeah.
That's when they say they want our vulnerability, like a woman is saying, I know it's hard for you to be in that space, but I want you to trust and open up that space with me.
Yeah.
So that we can actually reach the real place and I can know who you really are. But yeah, it does. That is a weak position to be in. And you really do have to trust somebody if you're going to show, like, who going to just go showing their neck to everybody like, hey, you going to kill me?
Yeah.
You going to kill me? This is my vulnerable spot right here.
And
We wear jock straps for a reason when we playing dangerous sports. You know what I mean? Because that's a vulnerable spot. We don't expose our vulnerability in dangerous situations. But then relationships are kind of dangerous for us.
True.
But that's where we got to be the most vulnerable.
But like my bad.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but like
Bring
Pastor
back.
was saying earlier, like you were saying earlier, like there's still a level of whatever vulnerability. So look like a Malcolm X or Martin, probably thousands of death threats, this, that, and the third, and lacing them up every day, heading out there, knowing it could happen. Right? So there had to be a level of accepting them, being like, so what?
True.
You know what I'm saying? So there had to be a level of, I'm still stepping out here and doing what I do.
That's that real.
Right? So, but there was definitely a lot of vulnerability, knowing that it could happen anywhere, anytime, from anybody.
I was born. What you about to say, bro?
So it's
kinda-
definitely something.
Because that's how the Malcolm X movie ended. It just came in my mind.
Sign it.
I think when you show your vulnerability, especially to like a woman, and you find out that she doesn't take that information or whatever and use that against you to hurt you, I feel like that makes the relationship stronger. So in that sense, that could be a strength that now you can move on together forward in a new way, on a new level.
Sisters, did y'all hear what he said? You don't use that against him. Y'all heard that? Because it will say, like Shahrazad Ali, I know caught a lot of heat back in the day when she dropped a book. Basically saying that black women are like beating up black men a lot, you know, trying to tell them how to be a more balanced partner for us. And she caught a lot of flack for it, especially because she had something there about like, it's okay to slap a woman.
Yeah.
But she was saying that because she was trying to de-escalate. She was like, you know, it's women out here getting body slammed, it's getting like shot, it's getting stabbed, it's getting killed. And she was trying to de-escalate like, hey, if you feeling that tight, just slap her in the face. And she said, now listen, y'all coming mad hard at me. What is it? The Red Cross suggests the same thing. The Red Cross says if somebody's hysterical, slap them in the face and bring them back. But when she's telling this to people, they're like, how could you? So I'm like, you know, that's a good point. That when it gets into black conversations, people do like put extra things on it that shouldn't be.
Extra sauce, for sure.
Let me ask y'all this from the index questions of the audience. When have you felt the most vulnerable? That's your question. Good. That's what you get. When have you felt the most vulnerable? Putting the gauge on that is hard. Like,
Right.
You got one. Okay, what you got?
I think in the workforce, because a lot of times you gotta like succumb or kind of be someone you're not, kind of play a role, and you can't be yourself. You can't be the true you, I guess, like you are with your friends or family, because you might not have a job, so you're vulnerable.
Real. That's real.
I had a couple come to my mind. The first one is obviously with my woman. So it's like, you know, things that you might open up to your woman about, you know, like, let's go left, right? But you know, that's with women. Another just sometimes through your art, like, you know, when you put it out there and you're wondering how it's gonna be, how people gonna react to it or whatever. You know, that instance right there can feel a little, you know, weird.
Yeah,
So
that's real. I think if I had to answer that, like I'm thinking about, like I spend a lot of time on stage, and that's a really vulnerable space. But I feel really, I don't know, more often than not, I feel safe in that space because the people who came there came to listen in a sense. So there's a kind of connection that's unspoken. The thing that's coming to my mind right now is when my second son was in the hospital. And they treated it felt so plantation. Like, I know good and well a hospital is like It's a restaurant. It's a business that I'm supporting. Like, and if I don't want your services, I don't have to get them. Like, if I walk in and y'all ain't serving no vegan food, I'm out, right? You can't make me stay there and be like, I'm calling the police if you don't tell me where else you're going to eat because I see you hungry. But when I was in the hospital and I was like, yo, I'm not liking the service, I'm like, we don't take ourselves to roast. Like, we'll call them folks on you. You take them out of here unless you're taking them straight to another place that we approve of. And while I was there, they was, really coming at me about our lifestyles and like, made people come and talk to me and tell me how to raise my children differently. And I had 2 separate experiences in the hospital. The first was really bad. The second was like God awful. They literally will kidnap your children from you. And it's within their rules. And you sitting there like, wait, what? Hey, that's my son. You can't. They like, and they straight pull out police officers on me, like, because I'm dead ass serious about my children. And I don't know none of these strangers. Like, I'm coming to get y'all's help, but I'm not coming to just hand away my children. To the point where, my son had to stay there. The first visit, he stayed for about a week and a half. And the staff there used to joke on my family because 24 hours a day we had somebody there with my son. But no other children in that children's unit had that. And so they used to joke on my family, calling us, oh, here comes the changing of the guard. Like somehow we were weird and wrong for making sure our child has the family with them. And nobody expected that. And I was weirded out, like, what you mean? Where's these parents at? Where's the parents? Where's the uncles? Where's the aunties? Where's the cousins? Nobody there for this baby? And so they really treat it like they own you and your children, whoever's under their care. They make you sign papers to say, I'm just practicing and this might not work. And we ain't even telling you it's going to work. And if it goes wrong, you take responsibility, not us. But if you don't sign the paper, they call them folks on it.
Yeah.
So they put you in a position where you feel like, yo, I lose either way. That's the most vulnerable I've ever felt. It's the most genetic back to a plantation trigger I've ever felt. Like, damn, this is what my people used to go through. Like, this is my child. And y'all dead ass, like, just took my child from me and said, you're going to call some people on me to hit me up if I stand up for my child right now. If I insist on being next to my child.
Now that you done kicked open the systematic oppression door, you know what I'm saying? Now we make like
now the door's open.
Oh man, like that was the really
oh we get that real.
No,
real.
But a couple 2 scenarios that really came. One was when was it? Last year, I can't remember, or the year before that hurricane that came through, right? And I remember going through I think it was Sam's Club or one of them, and basically they were saying everybody can only get like 2 cases of water, right? And it's me, my legs, my daughter, and it just made me think in that second, like, I am not in control. Like, they're controlling how much water I can get right now today. Like, somebody saying, oh, you can only get 2 cases of water today, and it really I felt vulnerable because now there's the whole feeling like I'm supposed to be protecting this and that. I'm like, yo, I ain't shit. I don't control how this food gets into my daughter's belly unless I go to Walmart or Publix or whatever like that. Even this water, until I go get this case of water, then I could drink faucet water, shit like that. But just it just put into perspective, like, yo, so what is really my power in this system in this world? So that made me really feel butt naked, like oh snap.
You don't control that faucet either.
Yeah,
if they hit that switch on that, right? They'd be out of water.
So I really felt like I really felt vulnerable in that scenario. Yeah. And another scenario I don't talk about them as much, but all black, not all, but a lot of black men probably just being pulled over for what was supposed to be like some dark tints. It started off with the dark tints. Ended up being with pretty much spending like a whole day in this in a holding cell, and really feeling vulnerable that it was just me. These 2 cops, just me, these 2 cops, and going into this whole cell with nobody knowing where I was at, nobody knowing, and me feeling like, yo, like anything can go on right now. Yeah, it's just me and them, right? And feeling vulnerable in that second, and just having to have these conversations in my own head about, you start connecting, like, yo, God, like if I go out like this, it's pretty lame. Like having these conversations. And having these, but I definitely felt vulnerable in that moment. Not because, physically feeling like they actually felt like I could probably take y'all, but just understanding that, like, but feeling like feeling like systematically, like, yo, you know what I'm saying? It didn't feel right, like, especially since, like, I'm a concealed weapon carrier, right? Having to admit to them because I didn't want to get killed that, hey, I have a weapon on me,
Mhm.
and basically allowing them to come take this weapon off him. I felt like the rabbit handing the gun to the hunters.
To the hunter.
Like so it felt weird as hell. Definitely felt vulnerable, having to admit, yo, the gun is on me, it's on this side, and them having to, because I didn't want it to be discovered or something go wrong where I get killed for not saying that, and just feeling like, yo, am I stuck in my all this stuff that went through my head of like, why am I? But it could go left,
Yeah.
and so admitting that and watching them and having them take it off me and feeling like, yo, I'm wide open, like, so that was another weird ass moment. So
We had a question from the chat room.
Yes, so.
What's the question? Read it out.
1 second.
Why she bring that other question was, is vulnerability a woman thing? What are the benefits of vulnerability? Is vulnerability a requirement of love, black or otherwise? Tossed off.
Burning Spear,
You got
Burning Spear said that vulnerability is a term, the capacity to speak openly about the moment, oneself's state of mind with peace. Being open like the sun is often what people define as vulnerability. They said that for me, I've learned to express myself calmly and authentically, and many times people refer to that as vulnerability. What do you think?
being able to express yourself calmly and openly.
And then Good Life said that sometimes men feel as if being vulnerable is dangerous.
Definitely can be. I agree with that, being able to be open. Like, you know, people say I'm a good host. I feel like what makes me a good host is that I am very vulnerable on stage. I don't come up there faking and pretending and trying to put on a mask for people, because that's easy to drop and fall, and then I'll be exposed. So I just come and expose who I am for real. And if I make a mistake, I don't get nervous, because that's what people do.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting with my best friend and I say the wrong word, he'll be like, "Oh, I quit, bro. I ain't talking to you no more." They ain't gonna drop me because I made a mistake. And so I treat my audiences like that, like I'm a very vulnerable person on stage. Even some of the poetry I do, some of the things I say is very much like putting my soul on blast. And I don't know how people gonna take it. I don't know half the time. You know what I mean? But with that said, there's still this deeper level that probably won't get touched on stage. Like, it's certain things I'm only gonna say to a person I know really knows me to understand. When I say this, you're gonna hear a lot of things that I'm not saying, because I can't explain all of that. If you don't get it and I say this thing, then it's gonna be like, wow. It's gonna turn into this long back and forth, and we're gonna be like, I don't know what you mean. So I got levels of just being open, but am I open with everything in front of anybody? Absolutely not. Same way as like going into the bathroom, like we close the door for a reason. I'm not gonna just show everybody my pieces and parts. Do I show some people my pieces and parts? Yes. Absolutely, I'm open with my pieces and parts at the right time. But I'm just walking around, man, open. You never know what can happen like that. So yeah, you gotta make some distinctions. And so yeah, it can be a benefit to be open and show somebody your parts, especially if they're willing to show their parts.
So how, as a Black man, do you decide who to be vulnerable with, and what place is appropriate, and what setting is appropriate?
Discernment.
Yeah.
We got to develop spiritual technology.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, big booty and
It's a
smile.
feeling, you kind of know.
Knocking your walls down.
Yeah. Like this space right now feels good. Like, I can say certain down. Would I say anything?
Not anything. We got cameras on.
Yeah, right.
It's still this little level. Like, I don't know who you are.
Exactly, right.
Video
That
audience.
feels good. Feels like a good space, but still want, you know.
So far we can go with it.
Sure, I keep my jaws on.
Because definitely, we're recording this, but we will also have some not recorded sessions, brother. So please do tune in. There's the drum circle that happens every Thursday in West Palm Beach. And we got different things, like show up to a Men of Blackness show. You know what I mean? Come to this brother. He just had us having conversations. It's 2 brothers and 2 sisters. When's that coming out? Next month?
Next month.
Next month.
Podcast.
I have talked about that before we get you out of here. But yeah, we gotta have discernment. We gotta not be guided by the fantasies of the fairy tales we grew up on, the TV shows and the movies, like the Bruce Willis. All I gotta do is save the world, and somehow the woman just loves me, and I get to hit that at the end of the movie. I get that because I saved the world. I don't have to know her emotional nothing. I don't have to know her mama's name. I don't have to know her last name or middle name. As long as I save the world and do some real hella hitting manly shit, I automatically get the girls. Like I had a joke called "Get the Girl Man." All you gotta do is save the world and you get the girl. You get the girl man. You know what I mean? And so because we raised up on that, I think a lot of times we don't really know how to discern if a woman is a good woman. I think it's the reverse too. Like women are raised on fairy tales, so if a guy shows up and he's well dressed and he's well shaved. He's got his beard gang happening, and his hairline is proper, and he didn't buy no weave and fade it and make it look right. If he's driving his own car, he's not hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. If he's got a job, if he loves his mama, if he got children to take care of, if he opens the door, if he pays for things, you ain't got to take your purse out. You know what I mean? Then the woman's like, he's a good man. Now she don't know he beat her later when he gets comfortable. You know what I mean? You don't know. She don't know that he got other 3 women that thinks he's a great man already because he hit the key buttons that says, I'm checking for this, and that's how I know I got a good man. He showed up when my tire was flat. He pumped gas when we went to the gas station. This is a good man. He pulled out my chair. So what? He slapped me every night. He pulled my chair out. And I think it's the same way with men. Like, well, so what that she don't, give me emotional stability or support my efforts? So what if she always cutting my neck? She got some juicy.
But you gotta learn.
She get my bacon crispy. It could be some real dumb things. We'd be like, this is how I know I got a good woman because X, Y, Z. Even though she's not fulfilling these other sides of things. So I'm like, it's a certain discernment to know.
Burning Spirit said, the brother who mentioned he's speaking of you, developing spirituality and at the same time being mindful, discerning, stepping away from the standards of society. What type of spiritual technology? I use the analogy. And then Good's Life said superficial qualities.
What kind of spiritual technology?
Mm-hmm.
Intuition, mind reading, dreams, discernment, your aura. You know the vibe. Somebody comes in the room right now and they vibe is off. We would all be like, what's wrong with you? If somebody comes in with the glowing vibe, y'all gonna be looking like, who is that? Come, let me talk to you. I love your vibe. We got all this vibration technology. We've been trained to ignore the hell out of it. We've been trained to say, hey, here's the template of what a good man is, even though he's misogynist and he's a murderer and a rapist, but his name is Prince Charming and he's got a really nice white horse. So I'm saying that we already got all the technology. You know you be having dreams about people. You know you be having intuition. You know you will call somebody at the same time they was just about to call you, or you say something at the same time as somebody else, because y'all are like 2 radio stations tuned into the same frequency. When we start developing those things, then somebody walk in the door, you just hit their aura, check their aura, like, yo, it ain't that hard. Activate your pineal. Listen, we got all of this spiritual technology. And we be knowing, we call them red flags, but then we ignore the red flags. But we know already, the technology always telling us, like, this person ain't asking for you. I know that booty is mad soft. And you found out accidentally, and he's like, who is that with the soft booty? I'm gonna try to find out the name and the number, see what else is soft inside of there. And I'm just like, because we're trained so much on the physical side of what we do, can she cook good? Does she give good head? Like, we say some of the dumbest stuff to determine if a woman is good. We don't know, like, how successful has her relationship been? Does she have both parents around? Does she have plans? Does she want children? Is she okay with monogamy or polygamy or polyandry? Like, we don't actually ask real questions. Is she involved in spirituality? Does she dream? Does she remember her dreams when she wake up? Is she gonna dream when you cheat on her? I had a woman dream me out once, like it wasn't like I wasn't technically cheating, right? So but she definitely checked me, like, I had this dream, like, and I got nervous. Like, about what? I don't like it when a woman say I had a dream and she ain't already smiling. She said she had a dream and she ain't already smiling. Watch out. Like,
I love what you referenced as spiritual technology. And I definitely think women are in tune with that. I've definitely had my woman had called me out in a similar way where she was just telling me how she's been feeling. She's like, yo, something's off with you. And at that time, I was definitely doing my dirt. So, it was early. So
and so do we.
So energy's a real thing. I think the woman is definitely in tune.
You can feel it. Yeah. The same way when I get up off this chair, it's going to be warm because my energy is constantly coming out of it. You know what I mean? We got technology to pick up on that energy that's coming out of people. So if you just focus on those, when your intuition, when your mind tells you something ain't right here, listen, I tell people all the time, you don't have to put your finger on the fire to know it's going to burn. People are like, oh man, I know it's something off. I just can't put my finger on it. And I'm like, I know this fire is hot. I don't have to put my finger in it. I can be like, yo, something's off. I'm not doing it. But we'd be like, I don't know that booty fat, and I don't know what it is, so I'm sticking with what I know that booty fat. Until it be drama and stress, and then we like trying to talk to our brother. Like, yeah, she crazy, bro. No, you crazy because you knew y'all didn't line up.
You find that's artificially fat.
Right. We're gonna talk about the artificial stuff all the time because that's the real thing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of women out here trying to get like implanted and stuff, and then men don't even like that. Junk. Like, they don't do that, lady.
Yeah.
That's not what we're looking for.
But you know, I like this a little bit sometimes. 'Cause some of us, I don't know if we're a little
Some of us do hoot and holler.
You know what I'm saying? So they're like, well, since this gets the hoops and hollers.
That's what they're gonna go for. I would direct all my women friends to what was that? What's my sister's name? Issa Rae. What's her show?
Who?
What's Issa Rae's show? Insecure.
Insecure.
Insecure. When her friend's whole booty busted and splattered everywhere,
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
she kept getting fake booty implants, and then she slipped and fell and splattered. Fake booty juice everywhere.
Video or something like that?
Insecure. It was was it? Wasn't she? Oh, you're right. That's why you gotta have a black man on your team. That was she's gotta have it. That one insecure.
Right.
Thank you.
That was She's Gotta Have It. I
Oh,
did.
She Gotta Have
I watched that.
Thank you. We live on selected. That was Spike Lee. I used to say my bad.
Good call.
So yeah, when she fell and busted
It's
off,
like 75. though.
you know what I mean? I watched them, I think, at the same time. So in my brain,
But
I don't
yo,
know.
you
Lace
it's
front beard.
Like, so,
Oh, snap. Yeah.
so yeah, man.
Poison is real.
So yeah, we are about to get up out of here. Did we cover all the questions
We did.
for the most part?
For the most
Hey,
part, yeah.
anybody in here? I saw some more people walk in. Anything y'all want to ask? Y'all got some questions before we? Oh yeah. Oh, so this was like, can a black man decide who to be vulnerable with? I think we kind of touched that on. It's that praise on it. Oh, we didn't. But we kind of did. If you take some of the conversations,
Yeah.
mix and match, we did.
I'm feeling my job.
And the other one said, is there a level of oppression? No, openness, sorry. Is there a level of openness that shouldn't be reached? That's an interesting question. I'm gonna let y'all marinate on that.
Yeah.
I think it's like, time and space for all of them. Time and
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like we was talking about this earlier, I think for me the training grounds of where you would try that with is with your woman. You know what I'm saying? It's like if we're gonna play those games or see how far that goes, this is probably where I would, open that up with it. You know what I'm saying? Or try as far as I can. You know what I mean?
As far as you can.
Yeah, as far as I can, as far as I have the
Where else would, that sounds like the best place to try it.
and that's where I would try.
That's where it's the
Yeah.
best supply.
Yeah.
I see a hand. What you got, bro?
As a black man, do you feel as though you can love and be as vulnerable equally with somebody, quote unquote, outside of your race?
Mm.
Good question.
Equally.
I think
That's such an easy answer.
I would say it like this, right? I would say it like this, and then y'all can take y'all takes.
Yeah, for sure.
My thought is that in the current context, no. I was raised to be a possibility thing. So is it a possibility somewhere in the Marvel universe? And all of the what ifs? What if Magneto fought? What if? In the what ifs, I say it's possible, but in the reality, in the historic context, I feel like culture matters a lot. And the best way I always give it, so people don't try to really come for my neck, is I say, people like to say we all humans and so we can all, blah, 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 blah. And I be like, well, what about if we all big cats? Lions don't get with tigers, don't get with pumas, don't get with jaguars. Vultures don't get with eagles, don't get with turkeys, don't get with robins. You know what I mean? They can all be in the same place and hang out. I've seen birds kick it, eating seeds on the ground with squirrels running right past and nobody's bugging. But when they go home, birds, like the robins go home with the robins, the blue jays go with the blue jays, the seagulls go with the seagulls, the chipmunks go with the chipmunks, the squirrels go with the squirrels. And it's only with us, and the things we domesticate that seem to violate that kind of, domesticated things don't count. Like no animal drinks milk after it's a baby, except domesticated cats and things like that. Because it's baby food. And once you're not a baby, you're lactose intolerant or grown. You know what I mean? So if you're drinking milk, that's not normal. And usually it's because somebody put that on you to think that's okay to do. And then we say, well, we're lactose intolerant. Most people are. It's called being adults. Yeah. So I'm like, I kind of feel that way. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you can drink the milk, but it's going to give you gas. Yes, you can get with anybody, but I'm not going to be able to be my fullest self. I don't feel like. Not with the historical context, not with the current context, not even with the future context. I don't think you can be your fullest self. I think you can do it, but just have some little lactate, some little gas X tablets with you.
Yeah, I would agree. Outside of my culture, my race, the most I can do is have respect for human life and have love for that. But as far as going deep, as far as opening up and stuff like that, you're gonna do that with family, do that inside your culture because more than likely our experiences match. The context of where I might be coming from and feeling would match. I can't really do that with someone who probably doesn't have that context or those same experiences or any of that. So I'm not. And for me, I'm not one to try to teach all that or recreate or help someone figure that out. So I'd rather start from where those experiences might be the same. But outside of that, though, yeah, I can have love and respect all day long, and that's pretty much all I owe anybody. But with my folks and going deeper, I can go deeper than that. I can go do some more stuff because of the similar traits, ancestry, and all that. That's another level. So that's just natural.
I think you can definitely try, and it's possible, like you said, in some instances. It's definitely easier for someone that comes from the same place that you do. But if we stick to that rule or logic, then I would have to find someone that not only is Black, but is Haitian, that was born in the same city I was born in, that was raised the same.
That's right.
How deep-
That's right. Y'all be flying all over the planet. You can't fly into a Haitian woman, brother.
I love it. But
No,
Shout
that's
out
what I'm trying to
to
say. I
the
am.
sometimes the differences is not a negative.
Facts.
It depends on
Sometimes
a lot of things, like what you're trying to do in life, how you want to raise your children. If you want to have an easy, journey in life, then find someone that comes from the same place as you do, that thinks the same way you do.
Yeah. I think it's close.
Worships the same God as you, and just it's the same as you, and then
Same with them.
it's
Because I'm
chill,
like,
but
on the real side, to answer that even deeper, like I can't really date Black women that are about 10 years younger than me because there's a real cultural difference. I might try to make some references to something I watched as a child, or listened to as a child, and they'd be like, "Huh, what?" You know what I mean? So like, there's generation gaps that happen. Like I really realized that, especially when I was in New York. It's a youthful town. You got to be up on it, and I just realized like, yo, even with them Black folks, like you said, like you got to find your cultural reality. So I don't necessarily just limit it to the idea of, can you date somebody outside of your race per se, but like outside of your culture, like you said, like jump into the Hispanics for a minute. Dominicans don't like to be called Mexicans, don't like to be called Puerto Ricans. You know what I mean? They'll be in the same area, mad beefing with each other because there's such a cultural difference, and most of them would never think about dating. And that's a real interesting thing, you know what I mean? But I think Black Americans don't have that same level because we've been like kind of blended. We got a little bit, we're kind of accepting of everything and everybody. But then I know like some Caribbean people that be like dead ass, like they're not dating anybody outside of their culture, period, point blank. So yeah, I mean, I think that's
the question he said was race. So
yeah, he did.
So like race is just a different thing. I said within the realm of Black, there's 100 million different type of possibilities and adventures you could go on. But yeah, he's talking about outside the race. I personally couldn't do that because there's just too many, I think, core cultural things that I wouldn't be able to connect with. It doesn't make it a negative or positive. It's just what it is for me. Like, it's a feeling. It's like,
can't
am I going
connect
to
in one way.
connect in the experiences of, one, understanding how I feel as a Black man. How would somebody outside of that understand that? Right? They could maybe sympathize, or they could maybe
Empathize.
Yeah. But to actually understand, so like I said, it wouldn't. So things like that. So and then things like seasoning on my food. Like I don't know, like there's all But once again, like the saying about if folks out there whatever want to change this into a positive negative, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's what I'm comfortable with. And I'm comfortable in what I'm comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? But I started this conversation with the only thing I owe anything outside of that is respect for human life, and that's it. But I don't gotta fall into any other boxes or anything like that.
Is understanding more important than love for you?
Is understanding more important than love? I don't think it's an opposite. I think with love comes. I don't know if it's that or that. I think
Were you
definitely
understanding
understanding
love
love.
comes to understanding?
And we know that ain't necessarily true.
I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like I don't. It's like you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know. I'm not gonna go down that trail. Like,
Love or understanding.
I don't- yeah, I think it's one. It's together, man. So yeah. I think
You need all of that.
Yeah, I need all
There's a
that.
list of things you got.
So if someone doesn't understand you, they can't love you.
They can you know how we talk about in love versus love? Yeah, they can love you, yeah, for sure. But it can't be definitely in my mind they be in love with you. So not if they don't understand.
So what would it be, like infatuation? It's gonna
They won't keep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now we're gonna stop the conversation.
Yeah.
The recording party.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, now I appreciate y'all because this is not the last time we do this. This is just opening up the
This
lid
is I'm
right
gonna
here.
be vulnerable.
Sharing some vulnerability for the black man. You know what I mean? We're gonna do this some more.
For sure.
Y'all can tune in. I don't know, subscribe to the channel. And I think when you do that, they let you know when stuff is coming. I'm not no YouTube guru. I'm gonna holler at King Simon Instagram. He'll put me on point about that. Oh yeah, you get notifications and stuff. You subscribe, you get the notifications about the different things. So there will be like not just these kind of interview conversations, but there will be resources, there will be lectures, documentaries. There will be interviews with therapists and healers, with brothers who have healed through processes, with couples and things like that. So we give lots of opportunities to express, and we don't always agree. I'm glad that it wasn't all like all yes men up here, like everybody's like, yeah, what he said, what he said, what he said. We got different ideas about this, so it's not going to be like this little quick and easy. Hey, this is what it takes to get free, and we're done. No, we got a lot to talk about, and lots to unpack. As you can tell, each one of those little nuggets was like we could go on that forever. So we will have some real pointed conversations about the interracial kind of things, about monogamy versus polygamy. Are men into polyandry? Y'all know what polyandry is?
When your woman got old.
When there's one woman and multiple husbands. Polygamy is multiple wives. Polyandry is multiple husbands.
Yeah.
How many men is out there?
What
Now,
about it? Down for it or what are you saying?
like there are couples. There are triples doing it.
I think, like, you know, saying there's all kinds of things under the sun.
Don't start trying to talk about that. Bro.
Oh yeah, my bad.
We in. I'm just letting you know that's the reason. See if y'all ready to go now. There's ways to discuss all of that. Yeah. So thank y'all at home, wherever you at, man, enjoying this vibe. Share with a friend. Hopefully, y'all get some young black men to listen to this. And if you got some old black men that's trying to figure out why they still crusty and they like got what they wanted, have them sit down and watch it with you. You know, if nothing else, try to get some conversation started. You know, create some space where brothers can talk. Find somewhere, go out to a park, go to the beach. You ain't always got to sit there and play video games or watch sports together and like bond. You know what I mean? Like, sit there and play some cards, get you some drinks, and then like have a real conversation and know that's what we're about to do. Like, we got to do these things. Let me shout out people who I know is doing things. My brother Mel Kwan in Brooklyn. Go on Earth. Every time I think Instagram, I think Earth the Open. Go on Instagram and look up The Hard Body God, THA, The Hard Body God. This brother's been facilitating some brothers healing circles in Brooklyn for a few months now. I don't know the regularity of it, but go to The Hard Body God, tag in. If you're in the New York area and you want to get a support group where brothers is doing a thing, check for him. Also, if you're in the New York area, there's a spot called Heal House, which is Heal, H-A-U-S. And it is a Black-owned health center specifically focused on Black men's mental health, mental well-being, emotional well-being. So check out those are two resources. Every time we out here, we're going to drop resources for y'all. Man. Y'all got to take advantage of the resources and you got to work together because no man is an island. Even Cuba can't do it alone, you know what I mean? So we got to figure out how to work together, how to support each other. And that's the resources that you'll find here. So I'm looking forward to building with my brothers. We're going to travel around. We're going to talk to brothers all over this place and see how we getting our healing on. So thank y'all out there. Thank y'all right here. I appreciate y'all. We about to keep talking a little bit. We got to cut y'all off. Oh, thank y'all for y'all clapping. Peace, y'all. The vulnerable black man. We getting free. I'm going to just talk till she hit the stop button.
I hit it.
Oh, it's done.
Okay.
Did it stop?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? It looks like it's still saying exit.
It's
Baby. Is it still going over there? Let's see.
It's still going. You're moving.
In stream.
Stopping.
Boom. That's how you do it.
Oh, well, you know
Put the
what?
strong finger on it.
I got girly fingers. Going